Is fruit making you fat? Well, the first thing, guys, I want to draw attention to is the Eat Well plate or the government guidelines. So most of you have probably already heard of your 5 a day. So now when they include you should eat one of your 5 a day, this is so many of your 5 a day. When you see smoothies, when you see portions of vegetables, portions of fruit, etc., it's sometimes correlated to your of a 5 a day, isn't it? And the reason they do that is because the government guidelines suggest that you should have 5 portions of fruit and veg a day, not each. But there is never sort of this guideline as to how many should be fruit and how many should be veg, because I know several people, guys, that have 3 or 4, maybe 5 portions of fruit a day, and then they'll have their vegetables on top, so they're more than hitting their quota, right? Wrong. Your quota for fruit should be a maximum of 2 medium portions of fruit, or 2 small to medium portion size pieces of fruit. So if you eat whole fruits, guys, which are generally better for you because of how they're made. Like if you eat dried fruit, it's so easy, and the same as fruit juices, it's so much easier to give you an example, to drink like the juice of 5 apples than it is to eat 5 apples. 5 apples would be a good sitting and serving of food, right? But to eat the juice of 5 apples would be quite easy, okay? So of your 5 a day, guys, you should be eating about 1 to 2 portions of that. Maximum should be fruit. And the reason why goes back to our ancestry days, guys. So when we used to forage for food, when we used to be hunter-gatherers, there is a biological mechanism inside of our body. And I'm going to go deep into the science with this, so bear with me. If you need to rewatch this video afterwards, please do so. But the reason I'm diving into science is because you understand the complete concept as to why we shouldn't be consuming a lot of fruit, especially if you're trying to lose weight. Okay, because this can be actually holding you back. This is the crazy thing, right? So what used to happen, right, guys, and this is where fruit is very, very different to normal sugars and high glycemic index carbs, so ones that affect your insulin and your blood sugar levels, okay? Fructose from fruit actually bypasses your bloodstream. It doesn't go into your gut, get broken down, and then go out into the bloodstream to give you immediate glucose and energy. It bypasses that system and heads on the quick pathway straight down to your liver. Now you might be thinking, well, that's great because then I'm not going to become insulin resistant, so my risk of diabetes is reduced and stuff, but I'm still getting some natural sugars, so that's really good for me, right? Well, no. Because, guys, if you have anything above a normal level of body fat, and if you are fed more often than you are fasted, then more often than not, you're going to be driving all this fructose into your liver, and your liver can only hold so much fat. And then it becomes basically intoxicated, it becomes full. And out of your liver will flow what is called triglycerides. It's a form of fat. And basically this can start to clog up your bloodstream, guys. So if you eat a high fructose meal, or you ate a couple of portions of fruit in a row, so maybe you had some raspberries, some blueberries, some strawberries, which is quite easy to get through quite a few of those because, you know, they're only snack size. So we get on a bit of a roll, don't we? And next thing you know, you're down a punnet of strawberries. You're like, oh, shit, that was 3 or 4 portions. So once you've done that, you can actually drive these triglycerides in your blood into your bloodstream, and they make this white gloop, and then you start to get real problems, and this can lead to long-term health implications, guys. Aside from that, when triglycerides get inside of your bloodstream because your liver can't cope with the amount of fructose that you've eaten, that will start to raise your insulin resistance because of the inflammation that's caused inside your liver. Aside from that, you're storing more body fat quicker because your fructose isn't going to your bloodstream or your muscle group areas. It's going straight down to your liver to be stored as fat to then be regenerated, if you like. The word for it is gluconeogenesis. So we take fat molecules and we push it back out into making it into sugar. So the reason I'm telling you this, guys, is because in our ancestry days, when we were hunter-gatherers, what used to happen was fruit was seasonal. So we could only consume fruit during the summer when it was ripe or when it had grown on the trees. During winter, there was nothing. So if you imagine, guys, if our biological mechanism was the same as normal sugar, which it's horrible for us, by the way, and we didn't have cane sugar and things like that back in the day. It was literally what we could catch, kill, or grow, or pick off trees and things, aka fruit. If we didn't have that, then we couldn't, then there was no way of getting it during the winter, guys. Not like now, where everywhere you look, you know, there's pineapples from abroad, there's, you know, coconuts, there's all sorts of really sweet tropical fruit, figs, dates, etc., etc., ready at our fingertips year round. Now, what happened was our biological mechanism was to eat this fruit during the summer when it was ripe, and then it'd go straight to our liver, and we'd store that as body fat and fat inside of the liver. So if we didn't store it directly inside the liver, so, you know, we kept filling up the liver, and then when the liver got full, it'd spill over into our body fat stores and into our triglycerides, into our bloodstream and things. But we'd end up storing that fat eventually. So we're putting on weight, and that's what fruit was designed to do. Because guess what? When we come to the winter, famine. No fruits, much less animals. You know, animals will be hibernating inside of the winter and things. You know, there's not many fruits at all around. Vegetables and crops didn't really grow very often, so we'd be fasting for weeks on end sometimes. And so you needed these extra body fat stores, and that was the biological mechanism for fruit. That's how we evolved. So when we ate fruit, we stored it as body fat, and that's exactly what's happening to you guys today. You're trying to lose weight, and you're driving in more than even one portion of fruit a day, guys. If it's not coconut, if it's not avocado, if it's not grapefruit or blueberries, I wouldn't be touching it, guys. Genuinely. All of those four things will have massive, great effects on your metabolic rate. Grapefruit will, specifically body fat too. Blueberries, coconut and avocado are great for your brain health and cognitive function. The rest of the fructose, guys, the really sweet fruits, they're going to be shutting you down. Avoid them at all costs. At most, one small portion of fruit per day, for the very reason that I've just explained. Or otherwise, what's going to happen as well, here's the really bad part, guys. So you know how you think like eating a piece of fruit's better than, you know, maybe having a pudding or a dessert or something. Have a guess which one is actually going to keep you more satisfied. Now, I'm not condoning this. I'm not saying go and have a pudding instead. What I'm saying is fill up on the better food sources that we all know about as a result of the Ultimate Foods list. Fill up on more of those. Your essential fats, your oily fishes, your nuts, your seeds, etc., etc. Fruit is less satisfying than actual cane sugar or processed sugars that we have in this day and age. It's actually, that's a scientific fact as well. So you have something called leptin, which is your satisfaction hunger. So it's basically a switch that's tripped inside of your brain, and it recognizes leptin hormone is from satisfaction. So actually your brain goes, oh, stop. You're satisfied, you know, you're full, you can stop eating now. You don't get that with fructose, with fruit. It bypasses this switch, and it takes more and more and more to get to that point. So you'll actually feel very unsatisfied, which will make you go back to more food more quickly. So there's just another reason to be really, really careful of it, guys. Now you might be thinking, well, you know, doesn't fruit have a lot of like vitamins and minerals and things like that in it? Well, actually, no, guys. The relative nutrient content inside of fruit compared to vegetables right now. So we're looking on this spectrum of your 5-a-day fruit and veg, and screw 5 a day. Eat as much veg as you can. 10 portions, 12 portions a day if you can, guys. Now we're not talking potatoes and those higher starchy carbohydrates. We're looking at really good you know, raw ingredients, those greens that we talk about all the time, guys. So we're looking at spinach leaves, you know, we're looking at tomatoes, beetroots, peppers, anything that you can think of, guys, just not starchy carbohydrates, okay? And get as much in as you can. They're the ones that are densely packed with micronutrients, vitamins, minerals. They got loads more fiber than fruit ever has. Fruit is mainly fructose, water, and it's got a very small amount of fiber and micronutrients inside of it. So you are going to feel far more satisfied of vegetable intake. Now, I know what you're thinking. Vegetable intake is very, very small amounts of calories, but that's why we drizzle olive oil over the top. That's why we put nuts, seeds, oily fishes, and that's why we use like the more dense fruits like avocado and coconut, okay, which are a very, very non-sweet fruit, but they serve brain and cognitive function directly. They actually protect the brain too by adding a layer to what we call the myelin sheath, which protects the brain, but that's for a different time. So guys, lower, if not reduce your fruit intake almost completely. Use fruit as a bit of a treat, so to speak. So if you absolutely have to and you cannot take it out of your diet, please don't eat fruit with anything else, guys. Literally leave it until you have a time period and a gap when you're not having it. Because if you imagine, right, so fructose has bypassed your bloodstream and it's basically, and you're trying to lose weight, you've got too much body fat right now, it's going to store body fat for you inside the liver. And if the liver's full, it's going to push these triglycerides, this extra fat, out of the liver, and it's going to go into the bloodstream. It becomes like this creamy goop, guys. And the problem is that's got to come out of your bloodstream. And cholesterol out of your liver has got to go and pull that back in when it can do, and it needs to, when you've burned enough of the calories. I know this is getting quite deep into science, but basically that can lead to quite severe long-term health problems. So what you need to make sure you do, guys, is you eat fruit on its own. You imagine if you coupled that up with something fatty, then you've got twice the amount of fat that's going to be up inside of your bloodstream once that digestion takes place for the fat. You've got fat going into your bloodstream from the fructose, then you've got fat going into your bloodstream from the fat inside your meal just a long period afterwards. You are giving yourself an insatiable amount of stuff to deal with. Your body is going to be under attack and inflamed from what it's trying to do. And the other thing is, guys, you need to be careful with how much fruit you intake, because here's the big kicker, right? If any of you have ever suffered with mental health as well, this is really, really important. Your gut permeability, so the ability for like what we call polysaccharides, which are inflammatory compounds, to leak out of your gut when it's permeable, is directly affected by your fructose intake. So the more fruit you have, the more starchy carbohydrates, the more gluten-based products you have. Okay, but we're obviously talking about fruit today. You increase that permeability inside of your gut lining, so you actually reduce that protective layer, and these polysaccharides and other bad and good bacteria will leak out through the gut, cause leaky gut syndrome, massive inflammation, chronic inflammation throughout the body. It's also going to reduce your ability to produce serotonin. 95% of your serotonin, your mood leveling hormone, is produced inside of your gut. So that means if you're piling these glutinous-based foods and piling the fruit in, thinking you're being healthy as well, guys. You know, people say about whole grain breads and things like that. It's just bullshit. It doesn't hold a lot of nutritional value for us. You know, and people will say, oh, fibre. Yeah, very monumentally small amounts of fibre. And it's not like getting it from good organic grown vegetables. It's not even remotely close to the same. It's a justification for people that love bread. And they can't jump off that carbohydrate roller coaster that we talk about, the energy roller coaster. Yeah, so if you're not producing that serotonin, guys, you have no ability to level your hormones. You're going to get super high highs, you're going to feel great, but you're also going to get super low lows. And this is what the start of mental health looks like. And you can track this back. It's directly correlated to your dietary intake as well, guys. Okay, so that was a big science lesson up inside of fruit and fructose, guys. Like I said, if you need to come and watch this back, please do so. Just hit that replay button, guys, and make sure you understand the science behind this, because I am just literally trying to get you to understand some of this, so you can kind of correlate everyday life into this. You can put a practical application to it. That's why I'm giving you the science. I'm also giving you examples of it too. So guys, have a phenomenal evening. I'm going to speak to you all soon.